We have a couple of quick end-of-the-year presentations to make. Is Joe Stevens in here, Joe? One of ours is talking about National Homeless Persons Memorial Day. And Joe, would you kind of tell us what we're going to be up to, and then I've got a proclamation.
Sure. Tomorrow is National Homeless Persons Memorial Day nationwide. It's December 21st, and it's the first day of winter and the longest night of the year. And in conjunction with National Homeless Persons Memorial Day, we have what's called the Iowa Homeless Persons Memorial, and we recognize all of those that have died homeless in or from Iowa. We do this at the state capitol. It's every December 21st, so if you can't make it this year, please mark your calendars for next year. It'll always be at from 5:30 to 6 p.m. on the West Capitol Terrace in front of the state capitol. And we've got posters outside, as well as little handouts if you'd like something to take to remember this by.
We have a proclamation which reads as follows. The winter poses extreme hardship for unsheltered and inadequately housed low-income men, women, and children in Des Moines. And whereas the spirit of the holiday season of giving provides an opportunity for affirmation and renewal regarding the commitment to end homelessness. And whereas December 21st has been designated National Homeless Persons Memorial Day by the National Coalition for Homeless and the National Health Care for the Homeless Council, and is so recognized by cities nationwide. And whereas in this season of generosity and sharing, citizens of Des Moines are encouraged to commit themselves to promoting compassion and concern for all brothers and sisters, especially those who are poor and homeless. And whereas in remembering those who have died on the streets, the cause of ending homelessness is kept urgent, as is the city's collective commitment to preventing such deaths in the future. Now, I therefore, the Mayor of the City of Des Moines, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Des Moines, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, December 21st, 2010, as National Homeless Persons Memorial Day in recognition of the people who have died homeless in and around Des Moines. We hereby ask all of our citizens to take a moment of silence in remembrance and encourage our citizens to support all local efforts to eliminate homelessness in our community. Joe, thank you so much for all the work that you do and everyone else does in this community. Thank you. Have this. So anybody that can, Joe, I think we encourage everybody that can come up to the Capitol tomorrow, and we'll have a little sermon about what time that's going to be.
It's at 5:30, and it's 30 minutes. It's going to be probably a little cold, so dress warm. It's 30 minutes in the cold with the homeless. Remember those that have died homeless.
Thanks. We have a Universal Hour of Peace. Do we have some folks here to talk about that? All right.
I am.
Excited? All right, here you go.
Okay, great. My name is Mary Hammersley, and this is Ashley and Jennifer. We're students at the School of Metaphysics. For the past 15 years, the School of Metaphysics has been committed to the study of peace and the creation of peace in the new year. So we will be celebrating the Universal Hour of Peace from 11:30 p.m. December 31st through 12:30 a.m. January 1st. And we will also be on the Capitol steps at midnight, bringing in the new year by reading the Universal Peace Covenant. We hope that you'll all join us. If you'd like a peace covenant, we have some over there, and you can also visit our website, peacedome.org.
As we all try to celebrate peace, ending this 2010 and going into 2011, we have a proclamation which reads, whereas the United States of America has historically been a melting pot where people of all nationalities, religious faiths, and cultures come together as one, and as the strength of our great city rests in the cooperative community of its citizens. And whereas our only hope for establishing peace among diverse peoples is through recognizing our connectedness and common dream of peace on earth. And whereas the first day of a new year typically denotes hopeful expectation and positive resolve in the hearts and minds of our citizens. And whereas the School of Metaphysics, a nationwide organization founded in our country to promote peace, understanding, and goodwill through teaching of living peaceably, begins by thinking peacefully, as called for the Universal Hour of Peace over the midnight hour, December 31st to January 1st, 2011. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of the City of Des Moines, on behalf of our City Council and the citizens of Des Moines, do hereby proclaim Friday, December 31st at 11:30 p.m. as the Universal Hour of Peace. And we urge all of our city, great city, in that we might stand united in common purpose, committing ourselves in thought and action so peace may move across the face of the earth in the dawning of this new year. So thank you all for your work. Appreciate it. Good luck. Would you guys hold this over here? And we have some folks from AMVET's post number 2, if we'd have you all come up. Okay, who's going to be our spokesperson?
AMVET's Post 2 is a chartered organization. We were chartered 65 years ago in 1946. We are a group of veterans of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, as well as Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom. And we are getting ready to celebrate our 65th birthday here in Des Moines. We are the only AMVET's charter here in Des Moines, and we are at our present location for the past 40 years. Our birthday celebration kicks off January 8th of 2011, and we invite everybody down on that Saturday. Thank you.
All right. Got a quick proclamation. AMVET's Post number 2 will be celebrating its 65th year as a chartered veterans organization in 2011. And whereas officially chartered in 1946 to provide service to veterans of World War I and World War II, in subsequent years it has grown to an organization serving all veterans and reservists in wartime and peacetime, with a commitment to serve disabled veterans and also provide community service to localities where posts are located. And whereas Post number 2 is the only Des Moines AMVET's post, it is comprised of some 650 veterans, spouses of veterans, and sons and grandchildren of veterans. And whereas AMVET's Post number 2 is an integral part of the Highland Park neighborhood, serving as a participating sponsor of such events as Rendezvous at Riverview, Park Thanksgiving Dinner, and flood recovery assistance to their neighbors. And whereas on January 8, 2011, the National Commander will visit from Washington, D.C. to congratulate Post number 2 on its 65th year of achievement. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of Des Moines, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Des Moines, do hereby proclaim Saturday, January 8, 2011, is AMVET's Post number 2 Day in recognition of this organization's 65th anniversary celebration and its commitment to serving veterans and their families. Thank you all. Let's give them a great hand. Thank you. You want to do it for this first part too?
It's up to you.
Okay.
How do you speak English?
Go ahead and start this. Well, we're going to open the Des Moines Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting for December 20th, 2010. I'll ask the clerk to take roll, please. Here.
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 Moore.
Here.
Reese.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Item 2 is authorizing the City of Des Moines Municipal Housing Agency to submit the Public Housing Family Self-Sufficiency Program Coordinator Grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is Board Communication number 10-750. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say in regard to this? If not, could we have a motion?
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Item 2 passes. Item 3 is the approval to issue a project-based voucher request for proposals to provide rental assistance for eligible households who live in specific housing developments or units. Board Communication number 10-751. Anyone in the audience need any update or additional information on this? Board members, any comments? Hearing none, could we have a motion?
Move.
Item's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The item passes. Could we have a motion to adjourn? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We said adjourned. We're going to start our city council meeting here in just a moment.
How do you speak English? Any room 2819. No, can you try again, please?
Prior to starting our city council meeting this evening, we're going to have an invocation by the Reverend R.D. Streeter from the Staves Memorial United Methodist Church. Those who would like to participate with us, we'd ask you to stand at this time, please.
I'm got to tell you, I'm a little nervous. Skip asked me to do this. What, Saturday? And he told me there's certain things. You know, I don't like talking with my back to people. Makes me nervous. But I'm an East Sider, graduated from East Des Moines High School. And he cautioned me on some of my comments because I have a tendency to be a little controversial. But this church and state thing's always been confusing to me. I wanted to put a nativity at a courthouse in one of the communities I served. They wouldn't let me. Found out the reason they couldn't find 3 wise men. But it's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be here, and let us pray. Heavenly Father, I ask your blessing be upon this body of men and women who represent our city and do what's within their wisdom, and grant them, Lord, that wisdom. Thank you, God, that we can come before you in this body and pray, Lord, for your intervention. Thank you for the people of this community, the men and women who volunteer and give of their time so freely to make Des Moines a better place and a more comfortable, safe place. As we Another year is dawning, dear Father, let it be, in working or waiting, another year with Thee. Another year of progress, another year of praise, another year of proving the presence all the days. Another year of mercy, of faithfulness and grace, another year of gladness, the glory of Thy face. Another year of leaning upon Thy loving breast, another year of trusting, of quiet, happy rest. Another year of service, of witness for Thy love, another year of training for holier work above. Another year is dawning, dear Father, let it be, on earth or else in heaven, another year for Thee. Amen and amen.
All right, I'll ask clerk to take roll, please.
County,
Here.
Hensley. Here. Meyer. Here. Mahaffey.
Here.
Moore. Here. Grease. Here. We have a quorum.
Item number 2 is to approve the agenda as presented and/or as amended. Could we have a motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Our agenda has been approved. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda. Tonight, the consent agenda is all items from 3 through 40. These are routine items that will be enacted as one vote and without separate discussion unless either a council member or somebody from the audience pulls an item for further information or discussion. Tonight, Councilmember Meyer wishes to speak on item 14. Councilmember Hensley wishes to speak on item 21G. Councilmember Moore wishes to speak on item 30. And Councilmember Moore also registered a conflict on item 51 outside of the consent agenda. Are there any other items anyone would like to bring up this evening for additional or further discussion or information? Wait, Bob?
We're going to talk about civil service commission.
He's not on the consent.
You're not on the consent. You've got an item to. You're on the regular agenda. Okay. Could we have a motion? It's been moved. Is Mr. Coleman on? Okay.
6 yes.
Takes us to item 14. Item 14 is land property transaction. 14 is establishing the fair market value and authorizing the voluntary acquisition of property at 2839, 2843, and 2933 Indianola Avenue. Council Communication number 10-746. Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor, County. I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about this. This is part of the Southern Meadows area over across from Howell School, where we're buying up some adjacent property to hopefully do some assembly of properties over there. And I did have a question, and I want to thank staff and everybody that was involved in obtaining these properties. I know it was difficult. I did have a question, maybe Phil or whoever's handling it. If there are these buildings that are on one of these properties, and I was wondering if there was a possibility or when we were going to tear some of these buildings down. Do you know what buildings I'm talking about? I'd like to get them down as soon as possible, since I saw like skid loaders and stuff over there tearing down the other parts of that Southern Meadows. I mean,
yeah, this will, Mr. Mayor, Bill Delafield's Community Development Director. Mr. Meyer, your question is about the smaller buildings sort of to the south of Southern Meadows.
Correct.
And those buildings are in this purchase process. They are not part of the demolition process that's now underway. We'll have to get clear title, and then we'll move as quickly as we can to demolish those as well.
Okay, so as soon as we clear title, and this is the first step in clearing the title.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's voluntary and everything, and he's agreed to.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. I'll move 14.
Six yes.
All right, takes us to 21G. 21 Hang on one second, Ms. Hensley. 21 is communication from Planning and Zoning is to receive and file recommendations from the Commission regarding City Council initiated request to vacate various rights-of-way properties to be used by Hatch Development Group, LLC, for infill redevelopment of single-family affordable housing. Ms. Hensley is asked to pull item G, which is setting a date of hearing on the vacation conveyance of all parcels above plus one additional parcel near I-235 and ML King Jr. Parkway for $51,500. That hearing date will be 1/10/11. Mrs. Hensley.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. I will move to set the date of hearing for this, but I have received calls from Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association. This is excess land as a result of MLK and I-235. And the question is, what type of notice was given? So if I can have this information before it actually comes back to the council, but what type of notice was given to the adjoining property owners? And I know that they are having discussions with the Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association, so hopefully they'll have resolution by the time it comes back to us. But there's just a need for more information, who received notice and what the options would be as it comes forward.
I mean, options in terms of
purchasing. We're automatically, there's a feeling that, and I've talked with Mr. Hatch about this this afternoon, there's a feeling that it was given to him without due process, making it available to other interested parties. So if I could just have background information on the process.
We'll do that.
I'll move item 21G.
Six yes.
Takes us to item number 30. Item number 30 is approving an agreement for a cooperative public service between Polk County and the cities of Ankeny, Des Moines, and Pleasant Hill for the 4 Mile Creek watershed study not to exceed $151,000. Council Communication number 10-755. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate the fact that the Polk County Supervisors took a lead on this and donated the initial $300,000 for this, and they've committed to add additional funding if it goes over $600,000. And I also appreciate the fact that Ankeny and Pleasant Hill partnered with us on this. It's an issue that I've been looking into for some time, and I want to give staff some information on the 9 Mile Run watershed in Pittsburgh. It's the largest Corps of Engineers watershed restoration project in the country, and they're using it as a pilot. And also in Dubuque, they've got the Bee Branch Creek restoration project that I've been looking at. I would hope that after this hydraulic study is done, we can put together an association like these folks had, who can start going in there and working along with them to help restore the watershed and do things to mitigate the water problems we have and some of the poisons that are running into the stream. And with that, I'll move 30.
Okay. I'd like to comment on that also. You know, how many years we've been working on trying to get a study up there, Frank?
At least 15.
Yeah, and it's very happy to see that this has come along, and this has been needed for a long time, and hopefully we'll get some resolve to 4 Mile Creek flooding and that. So it's a great, great opportunity for this study. So thank you.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
7 yes.
All right, takes us to item 41, which is an ordinance final consideration. This is amending Chapter 26 of the Municipal Code to adopt the 2009 editions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Existing Building Code, International Mechanical Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Energy Conservation Code, and the Uniform Plumbing Code as amended by changing Section 26-328 and 26-329 to address concerns raised by local home builders. I know there was going to be some discussion between our staff and those interested individuals. It's Council Communication number 10-764. Bill or Chief, one of you want to update us on how we're doing?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Phil Delafield, Community Development Director. We did have the follow-up discussions with the Home Builders Association, with Hubble, Rutland Homes, very productive discussion. The compromise that we worked out is before you now. It'll essentially address the conditions that we brought before you originally, sprinklers at 8,000 square feet, and then in multifamily townhome type situations, either 8 units or 18,000 square feet gross. The Home Builders Association, Hubble, and Rutland Homes were in agreement with these standards. They believe that they could work within them, and we believe it's a very good first step towards making these dwellings safer. We'll continue the discussions, and the next code cycle we probably will be back before you to discuss it again. I believe the chief may want to say a couple words, so I'll let him speak as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, John Takip, Chief of the Fire Department. I just thought it was important to come up and give a thank you to Steve Niebuhr with Hubble Homes and Paul Graybow with Rutland Homes and Creighton Cox with the Home Builders Association. This is a tough topic, and this generation of codes is the beginning of this discussion. And I think that the compromise that we came out of some real frank discussions. We had some really good give and take, both at conversing at the table and sending data back and forth to see where people's priorities were, where they could move to, and what made sense. And I think this is a really solid beginning to this process, and I appreciate everybody's cooperation.
Thank you. Good work, all parties.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, did everybody get the email today from
Yeah.
home builders thanking them, our staff and that, for working with them to work out resolve this situation? And so thank you for all your efforts. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and move item 41. Great job.
Item 41 has been moved. Anybody in the audience have any comments? Seeing none.
Frank, I'd like to add to Bob's comments. I voted against this the last 2 times it was in front of us. I spoke with Chief Takep this morning, and I feel confident. I really appreciate the compromise they've come up, and from what he said, I feel confident that this will move us into a safer future in a lot of our housing in Des Moines, and I will support it tonight. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
7 yes.
Ordinance's first consideration, item 42, amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. A is a parking revisions around the new Wellmark building, and B is a code revision for East M.L. King Jr. Parkway, Indianola Avenue, and other traffic control changes. Council Communication number 10-756. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this for these changes?
I'll move 42A and B.
Item 42A and B has been moved.
Christine, could I suggest that we just move the final readings if it has unanimous votes?
It does. Go ahead.
All right.
Non-pre-published.
None pre-published. And 7 yes. Item 43, amending Section 2-453 of the Municipal Code to effectuate the compensation decision impacting supervisory, professional, and management SPM employees' continued eligibility to participate in the 401A money purchase pension plan. Council Communication number 10-760. A is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the city manager and requires 6 votes, and B is approving the reduction in matching contributions to supervisory, professional, and management SPM employees 457 plan and grandfathering current SPM employees. The council communication on that item is number 10-761. Anyone in the audience to speak on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question for the city manager on this one.
Yes. Mr. Manager, Ms. Hensley's got a question.
Would there be any reason why we wouldn't just eliminate that program and roll them into the 457 plan if the contribution rates are the same? And how many people would we be impacting with that?
You mean?
I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be less administrative?
I'll have to ask Tom to comment on it for you, please.
Mayor, County, members of the City Council, Tom Turner, Human Resource Director, Council Member, that could be done, but by having both programs that we have now is an ability for employees to defer additional income.
Whereas they wouldn't be able to do it in the...
Right. You would reduce the amount that they could defer.
Okay, how many employees do we actually have enrolled in the program?
I don't have that number for you tonight. I could get that for you.
Could you get that for me,
yes.
please? Okay. I'll move 43A and B.
Yes.
7 yes.
Item 44 is a council request from Councilmember Brian Meyer that the city manager and public works department compile a list of issues in the Three Lakes Estates area. Mr. Meyer, any comment?
Thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of things going on out there. I'm aware of 2 houses that are sliding off their foundation. This is in the older part of Three Lakes, and a lot of concern. I think, that there may be other problems. I know there's problems with the detention basins, with silt, with algae in the summers. And I've heard bits and pieces of other things, and I wanted to consolidate it all into one place and maybe have take a look at everything, all of the problems out there, if they're related and that sort of thing. I know there's a pipe that burst. So I think you said you needed a month?
That'd be fine.
Okay, so if I could get a report back within a month on some of the issues in the Three Lakes area. If there's nobody to speak on that, I'll move 44.
Right. Anybody to speak? Seeing none, item's been moved. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
7 yes.
Item 45 from Councilmember Skip Moore to discuss newspapers and shoppers thrown on the ground. Mr. Moore, we look forward to your comments on this. We all have worried about this through the years.
That's what I understand now. Several weeks ago, I got home late in the day and found the shoppers up and down the street. They were in driveways and on sidewalks and parkings and yards. I, for one, have got an orange newspaper box below my regular mailbox, and mine was not in there, and it was evident they drove up and down the street and just tossed them. So I drove around the block, checked East 27th, and found the same situation there. Was not happy with it. Several days later, I received a complaint from a neighborhood. I went over there and drove that neighborhood, same situation through the whole neighborhood. Spoke with Doug Phillips about this, and he contacted Joe Grishala at the Register, and Joe and I have communicated several times on this, and I feel confident that they're going to keep an eagle eye on this and hope this doesn't happen anymore. And I told Joe earlier that I'm one of those people that a few years ago sucked one up in a snowblower, and it stops them dead. It's not good for your snowblower, and I'm afraid somebody's going to end up losing their fingers or something. So hopefully at this point we'll get the situation rectified and we don't have to bring it back here to the council. Joe, would you like to say anything?
All right.
Is that why the TV cameras are here? Item 45.
Move. Somebody want to move to receive and file?
I'll move it.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, item 46 is from a communication report from Bob Wessel of 212 University Avenue, Apartment 15, to speak regarding finances and civil service matters.
My name is Bob Wessel, 212 University, Des Moines. I'd like to address this matter that Civil Service Commission brought before us. I read that and reread it, and I'm appalled. Number one, it says in this article that the majority of commissioners said they feel we should reinstate this police officer, give him back his back pay and so forth. To begin with, 3 members is not the majority of a 7-member committee. apparently we only had a 6-member committee. And I lay that in front of the council, well, starting with the mayor, I suppose. Sounds like a rather important commission. It should have full membership, sir. Because we give evidence there that there were 5 votes, 3 in favor of this ridiculous conclusion, and 2 opposed, and 1 didn't feel it was appropriate to vote, and I think that was wrong. I think if someone is going to be a member, they should be a member, they should be a voting member. The conclusion drawn is that this officer should be reinstated on the police force. Well, the police force is the one that didn't think he should continue on the police force. And I think it's, I don't know if I would call it pathetic, but it would certainly be quite arrogant for these people on this commission to tell the police department who should or should not wear a badge and a gun in this city. Now, if this was a clerk or a janitor or some such person, I can understand this commission. I was raised in a union city. I think I agree with the principle of fairness. But the very people that this man is being imposed upon, the police department, don't want him on the police force. Now, I can see them making a recommendation to, say, the chief of police. But I didn't know until I called Human Resources that they actually have the power to do, apparently, what they've proposed doing. I find that preposterous. I find it preposterous that the gentleman would even want on the police force. What, Mr. Attorney, City Attorney, is it mandatory that we have such a civil service commission in this city?
Bob, what I'd like to have you do is finish your comments, and then I'm going to ask the attorney to address whatever issues he can, because it's my understanding this is at other levels of government being decided.
I learned that, Mr. Mayor, from Human Resources, that it's obviously a state law of some sort. Okay. Anyway, this decision should be made by the police department. Obviously, where the buck stops is the chief, and the chief made this decision after an investigation. I don't think this is kosher at all, even remotely. Now, getting to my other subject, if I may.
But you're kind of over on your time, Bob, but if you could summarize it real quick, we'll give you another 30 seconds or so if you can.
I have finally come up with how much it costs to live. I started berating our council people way back when Eric Anderson was still here about the overhead of this city concerning personnel, not just this city, many. The conclusion, there was an article in our local paper about two and a half months ago stating that a family income of $74,000 makes that family quite content in their place in our society by today's dollar.
Okay, Bob,
I got another article.
we need to have you wind it up. You're over.
Well,
time.
then we'll make another time for it.
All right, I appreciate it, Bob. Thank you. I'd like to have the city attorney quickly address Bob's comments regarding civil service, and then we'll try to move on.
You bet. To begin with, as you point out, there is a state law that mandates that that cities of our size have a civil service commission and the size of it, and we have currently 6 members, and I know that it may look a little bit 6 members on a 7-member board. We've had some difficulty in keeping the board full. One thing I want to, in fairness, point out, what you said, Bob, made it sound as if the 6th did not want to participate, and that is not really what happened at all. In fairness, that was a conflict was declared, was sought, and was declared, and was appropriate under the factual circumstances, which we're not going to go into tonight. As to the balance, I'm sure the council would tell you they really cannot discuss this thing publicly. It is in litigation right now. We haven't got a formal final award to appeal from. It will come in January. We will appeal it, which is the one thing that I can say. We certainly we wouldn't be telling the public that we're going to appeal this if we disagreed with you so far as the merits. However, I am compelled to say this. State law sets up a civil service commission, and the state law tells us whether or not a body such as this can tell the city and the police department who should and should not wear a badge and gun. That is a matter of state law. That is not a matter of policy here in the city, ordinances, anything like that. It is a matter of state law. That is what the law is. So that's it. And I think that was about everything that was asked, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Could we have a motion to receive and file?
Move.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
All right, let's move directly to our hearings. Item 51 is on the appeal from Richard Pemberton of 1250 York Street of an administrative hearing officer's decision regarding his dog.
Yes, sir. I'm appealing it on the basis.
Quickly give us for the record your name and address, please, Richard.
Richard DeWitt Pemberton, 1250 York.
Richard what?
Pemberton.
Pemberton, okay, thank you.
Basically, I'm appealing the decision because the description even of the dog, even in the paperwork, neglects the fact that no one mentioned that the dog had a black face. My dog has a black face. There's several other dogs in the neighborhood, and I do have pictures of a couple more of them, and addresses of the other ones that are about exactly described in the officer's report, Animal Rescue League reports. There's 2 other dogs in the neighborhood that have the exact description of Animal Rescue Leagues. Their addresses and everything was in it. I also have pictures of 2 more dogs in the neighborhood that look just or similar to my dog, but in all 4 statements or 2 of the statements, they neglected the fact that the dog had a black face.
Could you want to turn it on a little, either that or pass them around? You want to?
You can just lay them down right there.
If this is, excuse me, if this is information that was not presented at the hearing, this is information that does not come in at this point.
And it was not based upon the
We're
information.
we're limited to the record. Now, he said that, but he did not, at least as I understand it. If these are pictures that you presented to the hearing officer, pass them around. If they are not here, then you don't.
These are actually what they said in the decision that was something that I failed to do, is prove that there was 4 or 5 of these other dogs in the neighborhood with the similar same descriptions.
Right. This is essentially, this is an appeal from a hearing officer's decision. So whatever it is that you said below, and whatever witnesses said, that's fair game and appropriate to discuss and argue in any fashion that you want. Don't charge him for this time that I'm taking.
Yes.
But other than that, new evidence and so on and so forth does not come in at this point. This is an appeal hearing.
That's pretty much it. The dog doesn't match the descriptions. I mean, my dog isn't. He was in the house. 4 or 5 people said he was in the house. Locked in the house. Animal control said he was in the house when they delivered the...
That's not accurate. That's not the report. That's not what the report said.
Well, we'll
they
bring
said
up
they
the...
heard more than one dog barking. So...
Sergeant Radabaugh, if you'd come forward, unless Mr. Pemberton, do you have any other information that you would like to give to the council?
No, sir.
All right. Sergeant?
Someone wants to speak to you. Another citizen to speak.
Sergeant Radabaugh, Des Moines Police Department. Did you want a brief description?
Yeah. Why don't go through the findings and the evidence presented, if you would, please, as it was presented to the during the hearing.
Basically, in summary, Mr. Pemberton's dog was normally it's chained up from what animal control officers have encountered in the past. It's chained up but acting aggressive. On this particular day, November 3rd, the dog was not tied up, ran into the street and bit a girl that was on her way to school. She was familiar with the dog. In fact, she walked in the middle of the street to avoid the dog. But on this particular day, like I said, the dog was not tied up, but ran into the street and bit her. And that was at 7:20 a.m. At 8 a.m., an adult man was walking near the intersection, and once again, the dog sought him out in the street and bit him. Yes, when animal control arrived some hours later, the dog was in the house. There's no disputing that, but when the bites happened, there was certainly cause to believe it was out. Mr. Pemberton spoke about having the a video recording of the dog being tied up or not out running at large, kind of presented it to the animal control officer in kind of a bullying way. And when asked to show it, he said he was going to show it to the judge and his attorney only. Come to find out at the hearing, Mr. Pemberton said he actually doesn't have any way of recording it. All of the information is factual. Everything indicates the dog was running at large and bit 2 people that morning. And there's also been other encounters where it's aggressive. During the investigation, a neighbor came up and asked about the dog and said that day it was running at large as well. Came over to her place, tried to get at her dog through the fence, and she described the dog as vicious, quote unquote. That's it in a nutshell, sir.
But you didn't pick up the dog running at large. You picked it up from Mr. Pemberton's house?
Yes, a subsequent investigation within a matter of hours. We went to the house. I'm not sure exactly the exact time we picked up the dog, but it was subsequent to the bite. The bite happened that morning, and then later on, we picked up the dog.
After you'd left a couple of notices on the door.
Correct. The implication that animal control found it in the house means it was in the house earlier that's inaccurate. The dog, everything indicates the dog was running at large earlier.
Okay. Everything indicates from the witnesses. Hold on. Wait a minute.
The 2 people that were bit and also the third party that drove up and spoke about seeing the dog running at large coming over to her place. Those 3 people described the dog running at large.
And identified this dog specifically.
Correct.
As the dog.
Like I said, the young lady that was bit, she knew the dog. She said normally it's tied up, but this particular day it wasn't. It came out in the street, sought her out, and bit her in the street. Both her and the other victim also came into the animal shelter and identified the dog as having bit her, as having bit them. They didn't they went through the multitude of dogs that were in the shelter and picked out the dog that we had picked up that belongs to Mr. Pemberton.
So they're not directed to the dog. They were asked to walk through the shelter to identify the dog?
That is
that how?
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
They could have picked out a myriad of dogs, but in fact they picked out, and they weren't together. They each came in separately, and they each picked out Mr. Pemberton's dog as the dog that had bit them.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, are there other people to speak?
Don't see, we've got a couple more, it looks like, back here.
I was one of the guys. I was the guy that...
Here, I'd like you to come up here and give us your name and address so we can get it on record, please.
Robert Lang, 418 East Sheridan Avenue.
Okay.
I walk by that house 6 days a week on my morning walk. It's about 2 miles from my house. And I've seen the dog chained up, and they do keep it chained up, but that one day, he was loose, and in a half an hour, he bit that girl and me. And I was not on their yard, I was on the street. And I was backing away from him, and then I made a mistake of turning my back on him too quick before I got far enough away, I guess, and he came at me and bit me. But this dog has always been aggressive. Even when he's chained, he's always barking and growling and coming at you. And I identified the dog down in the pound.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Going to close the hearing?
Well, would you like to say anything else? I'm sorry? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and close the hearing and
I'll make
Mayor?
a motion.
yes.
So I had a chance to read the testimony from the hearing and listen today. I'm very comfortable and agree with the hearing officer's ruling, and I would move to uphold that.
Thank you.
Six yes.
And Mr. Moore abstained. Okay. Why don't we have a city attorney or something in the system here? Go ahead and kind of go over the... Would you want to, I'm going to have the city attorney go over kind of what's going to happen. Yep, with you. If you wouldn't mind. Item 52 is on assignment of the scheduled airline operating agreement from Midwest Airlines to Frontier Airlines. Council Communication number 10-740. Is there anyone here to speak on this item?
I'll move.
Seeing none, item's been moved. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Moore voted yes also.
7 yes.
All right, that concludes the hearings at 5:10. And it takes us back to item 47 from Sheila Albert of 3328 62nd Street to speak regarding the 67th Street Creek project. Sheila? Is Sheila here? Could we have a motion to...
Receive and file, I'll make that on 47.
No, right. Mr. Coleman, Sheila's not here at the moment, so we just move to receive and file.
Perfect. Yes.
Mr. Moore?
7 yes.
Item 48 from the Highland Park Neighborhood Association regarding snow ordinance streets. Councilmember Moore sponsored to put this item on. Mr. Moore, would you like to make comment on it?
Yes, after the last snow event, as everybody's aware, there were quite a few tickets written for people parking on snow ordinance streets, and from what I understand, the paper reported almost 900. Some of those were violations of the snow routes. What I want to talk about are the ones that violated the snow ordinance, and that's in the neighborhoods. There are approximately 450 from what I understand. One neighborhood in particular, Highland Park had 150 or so tickets written in their neighborhood. I started getting calls from people that were looking for relief. All kinds of different things were flying back and forth. And what I would like to do is the city ordinance about off-street parking is on the back side of this. I'd like to move to receive and file this and refer it back to staff to come back with a recommendation as to what we could possibly do to offer some of these people relief. One thing that bothers me that I've heard, some people say it's city staff and some say it's neighborhood leaders, but they're being told to go to the nearest school, church, or business and park there. And I don't think that's fair relief for them. It's not fair for those businesses or schools either. If their people show up to plow their snow, they're not able to do it. So.
Are we going to open it up for hearing?
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Meyer, you have a
We have
comment?
a speaker, Frank.
Okay. I don't. Anybody that want to speak on this item, we'd ask you to come over here on the south side of the chamber.
I do have something after she's done. I
Okay.
would like to speak on that.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Your
Mayor,
name and
County, and City Council members, my name is Trudy McCormick. I live at 1226 East Oak Park, and I'm the president of the Highland Park Community Action Association. We had, our board had between 4 and 8 calls about the city ordinance on the day following the snow. So our board, the Highland Park Community Action Committee Association Board, met Tuesday evening, December 14th, to address the concerns of some of our own neighborhood residents. This is our first year to participate in this snow ordinance program. As in all endeavors, the first experience is the learning experience. We're still enthused about this program, and we feel it's going to be beneficial to our residents once the kinks are ironed out. In order for the new snow ordinance to be successful in all participating neighborhoods, the board of the Highland Park Community Action Association would appreciate the City Council making the following allowances, not only for Highland Park residents, but for all city residents who find themselves with little place to park. When Public Works declares an official snow event, people who do not have a driveway or have insufficient space in their driveway to accommodate all their vehicles should be allowed to park their vehicles in their front yards, not on the parking and not blocking the city sidewalk, until the snow event has ended. I did talk to Public Works today about the possibility of inspecting the driveways in our neighborhood between Corning and Euclid, between 2nd and 6th. If the neighborhood residents are to use those alleys for parking, that's where their garages are in a large number of situations, then the alleys have to be accessible. And we did have one call from one lady who said that she was stuck in her alley in a rut or in a pothole for over, I think it was like a couple of hours, and she needed to get to work. And then I also would like to have, or we would like to have, an annual fall inspection of the alleys in the future so that if there are repairs needed, they can be made.
All right. Thank you, Trudy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jolene Prescott. I live at 3013 3rd Street in Des Moines. In my situation, where I live, all we have is a garage and then a very short driveway. We could possibly put 2 cars. We could put one in the garage, one in the driveway. However, now I have a son living with me. He has a car. I have a daughter who is 17 that is going to need a car when she goes to DMAC. And if my other daughter comes back to live with us, we have yet another car and no really place to park them. And we weren't sure what to do. Where do we put our cars? Now, we did put some on, the previous owner had a rocked area that is not really a driveway. It's just a place where they put rocks. So we do have one car there, and we are able to take care of it now. But if my daughter gets a car, we're not going to have space to put it. Now, should I go down and have our church, should I park it in our church parking lot? Well, then they need to clean off their parking lot. I mean, that's not fair to them either. I guess, and also, when we do park in the back, our alleyway gets so clogged with snow so easily that I'm just afraid we're not going to be able to get our cars out if we have to park them all in the back. That's why during snow last year, we parked them out in the street. We knew we could get them out, you know, to go to work and that kind of stuff. I don't know if we're going to be able to get them out unless the plow comes through and clears that alleyway right away. And I have to be to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. My husband has to be at 7:30, so.
Which street are you on, Jolene?
I live on 3rd Street. I live on 3rd Street between Boston and Corning. It's a street that goes down a hill, which was always good. You know, we could park cars, and then we could always get through because the car would just kind of go down the hill and we could get out.
That's not a problem, okay.
Yeah, and I guess it's not that I don't want clean streets. I want clean streets. You know, I want snow removed from the streets. We do need to do that. But we need to be fair to the people that just don't have a place to put their car.
Okay.
Just don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She's also from Highland Park.
Yep.
So.
Good evening, Mayor, County, and members of the council. My name is Mel Pins. I live at 210 East Bundy Avenue. I'm the president of the Somerset Neighborhood Association, and this was our first year to participate in the Snow Ordinance Streets program as a neighborhood. And I would like to say that this program was an outstanding success for us. There's always going to be a learning curve. There's probably always going to be a little bit of inconvenience or a little bit of discomfort. There's probably always going to be a few folks where it just doesn't work for them. But by and large, what my citizens, our residents have told us in the neighborhood is they love this. If we back up to a year ago, I think we're in our 3rd or 4th major storm event, one on top of the other. In my neighborhood alone, even though we have 2-car garages and good-sized driveways, the cars that were parked on the street were literally plowed in. Then when they finally dug themselves out, they threw all the snow out in the middle of the street from that. Then as they blasted out of that, they left this big kind of crater foxhole behind where they had parked. When they came home, did they park in that spot again? No. They park in the clean spot down the street, and we got in the same cycle. I was calling Public Works, asking them to come back out, sometimes 2 and 3 times, to clear out our cul-de-sacs, to clear out these places where people had left these drifts behind, and they just couldn't keep up with it. And snow after snow after snow, we had these geologic layers on our street. It was a real pain. But I tell you, it was totally different last week, totally different. Part of that is I think Public Works did the best job they could of notifying people of this. The neighborhoods that participated, they all had some signs posted, maybe not enough. But certainly in our neighborhood, and the size of the neighborhood might have something to do with it, but in our neighborhood, we thought the signage was good. They sent out green flyers. I don't know if you saw them, but they were like cardstock flyers, a little bigger than a parking ticket size. And we went around on a Sunday night. We divided it up between neighborhood volunteers. On a Sunday night at 11 p.m., if anybody's going to be parking on the street, that's the time. So we went around and put these courtesy notices on. We only had 3 cars that were parked on the street in our neighborhood. So some of it is the neighborhood associations have to get out there and do the grunt work. People also, I think, I saw it in the Register. I saw it on television the night before on 2 of the 3 major networks. I couldn't get to all of them quick enough. But the feedback we've received is it's not only very popular, I'm sure it's got to save Public Works time and money, but really the biggest thing, our streets are a lot safer for travel at this time of the year. So I'd really recommend that you look at continuing the program, expanding it where it makes sense. I think in R1 neighborhoods, if we have driveways and garages, let's use them. I had 2 people in my neighborhood that said, you gave us a good excuse to get our garage cleaned out so we could park our car in it. Another guy said, I'm going to sell that old truck I just hauled wood with. I'm just kind of tripping over it anyway. There may be some inconvenience as far as, parking in front yards. I know you may discuss that. I might say that's a slippery slope, pun intended. As a neighborhood leader and certainly looking at our city's character, we all know that parking in front yards is kind of the bane of neighborhood character. So I'd encourage you to really look at that closely if you're going to allow it, because you might have people, they get their cars up in their yard before the snow, they bump the curb or drive off the driveway into the yard, but once the snow happens, how are they going to get back out of that one? 6 inches of snow and ice, and then the city plowing the street and leaving a big furrow along the side. If it's tough to dig out your driveway, it's harder to dig out your front yard. So I'm not sure what the answer is to that, but we think the program's been very successful, and we hope it continues. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
You bet.
Anyone else? Let's go ahead and have a little further comment from Nibs. I know, Brian, you had a comment, and Christine?
I'll start. I think in general, I mean, this is a voluntary program, and here's I just wanted to mention what I would support kicking it back to the city manager. It's a voluntary program, and if these neighborhoods, like Highland Park, obviously that's a lot different. Highland Park's a lot different than a Somerset. Somerset's, I think, either the smallest or second smallest mill in the entire city. I think I have 2 of the smallest in my ward, but there's a big difference. A lot of people have garages in Somerset and not so much in Highland Park. What I would support on the Snow Ordinance Streets program is, for this year only, for the rest of this year, this is something I could support, which is allowing the people to park up into their yards for a time period, whether it's 24 hours before and 48 hours after a snow event, or some time period like that. But I want to limit it to just this year, and if they don't want to be in the program next year, we can, they need to take a look at that on their neighborhood level. But that's what I can support, and anything beyond that is, I don't think I could really support that.
So we're not issuing a support for front yard parking all over the city for
just
indefinite periods of time.
Yeah, I can't support that even going over until next year or during the entire winter, just for a snow period before and after. So I just want to publicly pass that along to the city manager.
Christine?
I agree completely with Mel's comments. He hit it right on. The Waterbury Neighborhood Association, this is their 3rd year. The first year we had some issues. I was on the phone regularly with Bill Stove talking about, okay, how do we address this? How do we address that? The second year we had significantly less. And last year, the citizens are extremely pleased with the program because you have a much clearer streets. You can actually have some width. You can have a lot of traffic there without having to worry about whether or not you're going to slide into the path of the other car. So I think it's all about education and learning. And yes, the neighborhood associations are going to have to do an awful lot of the work. They really have to be the ones that take the lead. I know that the Public Works works hard to get the information out there, but you just need your neighbors and your neighborhood association doing it. I can just share with the city manager the number of calls I've gotten today on people on the recommendation to park in front yards did not fly. Absolutely no support for that because of the concerns, and are you just trading one problem for another problem? So I would like to see us really work at trying to figure out some solutions that would maybe be more appropriate because neighborhoods are different from one neighborhood association to another. And I think we have to take that into account as we're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But I think number one is let's work and educate and give it a shot this year because I think once you've gone through it and you see how well it does work, you're not going to want to go back. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. I got calls today from neighborhoods who are supporting the program. They don't want us to change it. And if somebody wants out, I got neighborhoods that are wanting to be in the program but can't get in it. Pat says they're full. They can't add any more to it this year. So, there's, and you can remember back in planning and zoning, we worked years to get people from stop parking in their front yards.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so I could support Brian with limitations as far as how long they could be in their front yard. But
just for this year, just for a period of time before and after a snow event.
I can support that, but then it has to be done away with,
Kip, anything else? All right, we have a motion to...
Can I speak real quick?
You certainly may, sir.
If I'm following this, one of my general comments is one of the things that'll help throughout the city is to continue to have strong neighborhood associations and not to allow ones that aren't very deep in terms of their membership and support and activity to be recognized. Because when you have a weak neighborhood association, as everybody's pointed out, that's the energy of the work that makes these things happen. I don't really like the slippery slope at all of any yard parking, and I probably draw a hard line there for myself, even this year.
Okay. I think we're done.
I heard a lot of comments about the neighborhood association stepping up to the park. Highland Park did step up to the park.
That's right. All right.
I didn't hear a comment, but I
She just said Highland Park stepped up.
Yeah, I agree.
Any rate, so we're going to move to receive and file, and you want to refer it
City manager.
to the manager and Public Works to come back with a recommendation that would work at least for remainder of this snow season, Brian? That's along the lines of what you suggested?
Yeah, I mean, that's my outer limit. It's not what I want to do, but that's as far as I would be able to go as far as being allowed, allowing people to park. I don't want to sound like I really want that to happen, but that's the outer limit.
Receive, file, and refer. Okay.
Receive, file, refer. Yeah. Sorry.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
7 yes.
All right, item 49 is an update from the Restoration Ingersoll regarding Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the program.
As the group is walking up here to make the presentation, they do have quite a lot of information that they want to share with the council. They know that they need to keep it short, but they do have several speakers. So I'm just trying to set the stage here. Come on up, Susie.
Thank you. We're freezing, so we're glad to get up and move around a little bit.
Is it cold out there?
It is cold. We have a picture. I don't know if we haven't done this before, so how does that work?
We'll see here. There you go.
Is it?
Other way. There you go. Right there.
Is that good? Okay, Mayor, County, City Council members, I'm Susie McBroom, 5502 Waterbury Road, Des Moines, Iowa, 50312. I'm joined today by Janice Ruan, who is my co-chair of Restoration Ingersoll, and we are going to be presenting to you tonight together. We are here tonight, or today, to thank you for your support for Restoration Ingersoll in the past. We want to let you know where we're going with this project, where we've been with the project, and to ask you for your monetary and staff support for the next phase of this project.
Mayor, County, City Council members, Janice Ruan, 465 Foster Drive, Des Moines. First and foremost, we would like to thank the city for its unwavering initial support of the Restoration Ingersoll project during its successful pilot phase. We believe that each of you has seen the positive difference that has been made on Ingersoll, a transformation of a 3-block area, 28th to 31st Street, into a more pedestrian-friendly destination, as you can see from our before and after photo. In addition to the highly visible aesthetic improvements, Ingersoll traffic has been calmed. The number of accidents has been reduced, with overall traffic to the area has increased. We are grateful for these developments and the leadership of the city's traffic department, which have positively impacted the Ingersoll business community and the neighbors who frequent these local businesses. The beautification efforts and traffic calming are only two of the many advantages that have resulted from this project. The continued hard work and dollars raised have been squarely focused on economic development, attracting new businesses to the area and investing in those established organizations that have long been a part of the Ingersoll community. As a vital link to downtown Des Moines, the Ingersoll project continues to attract attention and curiosity from businesses in the metro area as well as outside of the state. They are impressed by the progress and energized by the possibilities. Nevertheless, the work must continue as the project is far from complete.
The Restoration Ingersoll Committee was formed more than 11 years ago and many of the original committee members, as well as new invigorated members, continue to meet on a monthly basis. Since 1998, when we raised the original initial $25,000 from area businesses to fund the first project, matched by the city funds and manpower, our group has served as pioneers for this unique brand of public-private partnership, injecting new life into neighborhoods and business districts alike. For the first pilot project, we received funding and support from the following entities: 16 corporations, the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines, grants from Vision Iowa, Prairie Meadows, Polk County, and transportation enhancement grants through the MPO. Pledges from 6 major individual donor pledges, pledges from 50 out of the 68 businesses in the area, 100 pledges from stakeholders in neighborhoods, the proceeds from 10 benches that were sold and over 500 bricks that were laid in the ground, and of course the unwavering support of the City of Des Moines. Our committee has raised over 1/3 of the total amount of the pilot project, and we are poised to do so again.
We are anxious to begin Phase 2, which is shovel-ready. Ingersoll Business Anchor Dolls has invested in the neighborhood by building a larger and upgraded store. The company has successfully collaborated with Restoration Ingersoll to implement the signature Ingersoll streetscape design into its landscaping between 34th and 35th Streets. To keep our Restoration Ingersoll committee engaged, we plan to build on the momentum generated by the pilot project as we continue into the next phase.
We know that a number of other areas and neighborhoods in the city have begun to organize and develop similar public-private partnerships and plans to improve their districts. We are enthused about their efforts, and if the members of Restoration Ingersoll can do anything to assist them, be that advice or suggestions, we are willing to help. However, in the midst of new projects and excitement over new initiatives, please remember that our 11-year project is stronger than ever, has a proven track record, and is ready to move forward with the financial support of the city in the next phase. Every block that is transformed on Ingersoll strengthens and betters Greater Des Moines. We thank you for your time and appreciate your ongoing support.
Mayor, County, and City Council members, I'm Kay Logier at 2900 Southwest 30th in Des Moines, and I just want to do a status update on the finances of the project. Susie alluded to. The project originated with a $2.1 million goal. That's excluding the stormwater finances. And we were in charge of 32% of that, $665,500. We now have approximately $56,500 in outstanding pledges. So we continue to reach out to people who made pledges and have not fulfilled them. We did just send a letter to those people, but we do think that we have about $22,000 in pledges that will not be receivable. This is 3.3% of the goal, and in capital projects, anywhere from 3 to 5% is kind of the expected percentage for unfulfilled pledges. So we're at the low end, and we feel proud about that. But we do feel that we can raise $33,900 by the end of 2013 because some of the pledges have extended through the economy turn. So I just wanted to give you that update and thank you for your time and your consideration.
Mayor, members of City Council, Greg Jones, Dunbar Jones, 3520 Beaver Avenue, Des Moines. Designer on the project along with Herrschout of Chicago. Just as a reminder, this project, the pilot project was the first part, which is right in here, of a much larger project that goes from 17th all the way to 42nd along Ingersoll. And again, phase 1, the highest intensity development that we've already done. Phase 2, essentially from 31st to 35th Street with dolls at one end. The big project, again, phase 2 of the project looks real similar to phase 1. Again, this 31st Street here, 35th Street here, the dolls property, 34th to 35th. Some of the things that we're changing in that project, we're not having quite as many railings, just to tone it down a little bit. We're having the same plant material. We're having big trees on the north side of the street, none on the south because of the power lines. We've met with Mid-American Energy, and they're working with us to get rid of some of that spaghetti in the sky, as I call it, just to reduce the amount of power line clutter. But again, this project, a little more detail. This is 35th Street. Again, the same pavers, benches, planter urns, big trees. So it's a continuation of the project that we started before, and with dolls going on their block, we see that it's a great opportunity for the city to add. Thank you.
Fred, can you just answer, I think you're the right person to ask, what is the projected cost for
phase 2? Thanks for reminding me. Big round numbers, $3.5 million for phase 2. Of that, about $1.5 million would be the stormwater utility, and Restoration Ingersoll's portion is a little less than $1 million, and the city's portion is a little more than $1 million. And again, that would, the city council's adopted a set of policies basically deciding who shares what for plant material and amenities, and that uses that formula to break that down that way.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm Peter Brown. I live at 412 51st Street. My office is at 31st and Ingersoll. I'm a commercial real estate broker in Des Moines, and I represent small businesses and professional firms that look for space all over town. And so I know when people are looking at places to locate, if they're going to buy or lease, they look at whether the existing private owners are investing in their buildings and keeping them up. They look at is the city keeping the neighborhood up. In effect, they're looking at do people care about this area? Does it look nice? Is this where I want to locate my business? And phase 1 of this plan really answered that strongly in the affirmative. It's been a great change for the area. It's been very noticeable among my peers in the commercial real estate industry. And phase 2 will only continue this momentum. As we try to when you redevelop an older commercial neighborhood, it can be complicated and expensive, and it's efforts like this that can overcome some of the expense and complexity that is involved with that. So I come today as an enthusiastic supporter of the project, and thank you for your support.
Thanks, Peter.
Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, I'm Ted Irvine. I've got a business on Ingersoll, 2801 Ingersoll, and I live at 105 Foster Drive. I've been part of this restoration committee now for 6 years. I said yes right away when I located my business on the street, and it's kept me pretty engaged for the whole time. To me, very early on, we figured out that this really was an economic development project for Ingersoll and for the city of Des Moines. I think it's been a very successful one. I think the tax base is trending up in that area. I think most of the enlightened businesses see that as a good thing because our values of property are going up. That means that business is good, and the district is attracting people, and I think that's all been proven out. My concern on the committee is we have quite a bit of momentum going, and as Susie and Janice mentioned, there's quite an engaged group of folks that are working on this.
I look at quite a few people, maybe with the exception of me, that are pretty high-powered folks that are giving a bunch of free effort to the city. They're doing it because they love the city. They're doing it because they love Ingersoll. I'd hate to see us interrupt the momentum from that. In my business, in the interior design business, when we do a project for somebody and they don't want to necessarily do it all and at once, we encourage them to do it one room at a time versus putting a piece in each room for the whole house where it kind of gets lost in the overall home. So we did the pilot project. We did a concerted effort. The next phase, being phase 2, we'd like to keep going and do immediately, not wait several years to do it, while these folks are engaged and ready to go. I've had several folks call me over the last couple of years about doing development projects on Ingersoll. Love the MPC environment, love the restoration project. The businesses up and down the street ask me, when are we going to get the same benefit that you got? So people really want this to happen, and I'd like to see you move us up in the queue and continue with the project. Thanks.
Mayor, County, and council members, I'm Tina Edelstein, owner of Jesse's Embers, 3301 Ingersoll. I am speaking not only for myself, but also for my 2 partners, Marty Scarpino and Tom Ruan. I would first like to thank the Restoration Ingersoll Committee and the city for their hard work and efforts toward the revitalization of Ingersoll Avenue. We became owners of Jesse's Embers 3 years ago and have worked very hard on the revival and renewal of the landmark restaurant. We feel it is an institution of the city since we have been in business for 47 years. With the help of the continuing improvements and the growing activities, it will still be a thriving business for our children and our grandchildren. After building our business for 3 years, we are on Ingersoll to stay. We love the location. It is close to downtown. We love our customers, and we love the neighborhood. The new improvement from 28th to 31st Street gives Ingersoll and Avenue a more inviting and pedestrian-friendly appearance. As owners of Jesse's Embers, we are proud to be part of the Ingersoll community and are looking forward with great enthusiasm for the implementation of Phase 2. Thank you.
Well, my name's Tom Bernal. I own the buildings at 3030 Ingersoll, 3702 Ingersoll, 526 39th Street, and 4801 Grand. I'm here in support of continuing the Ingersoll Restoration Project. My interest in seeing the project continue comes from being a property owner in the area who desires to protect and increase the value of my existing properties, and also in consideration of additional investments in the area in the future. Ingersoll is attractive to me for several reasons, one of which is I consider it to be one of 2 boutique shopping areas in the city, which and Ingersoll has already benefited from the work done to date. The street has traditional and a natural relationship to downtown, and a vibrant Ingersoll is important, I believe, to continue downtown development, and I believe investment in the Ingersoll area is supported by people who live and work downtown. I also am attracted to Ingersoll because I believe it has a natural relationship with 2 of our city's most important educational institutions, Drake University and Des Moines University. I encourage you to continue the Ingersoll Restoration Project for the following reasons. Restoration Ingersoll is up and running with dedicated volunteers. The initial phase of the project was successful and is a model for what can continue. The work has and will continue to improve property values and therefore the tax base in the area. And the project supports the redevelopment of downtown via existing public transportation. Thank you.
Ms. Hensley?
I would just like to thank everybody that has come forward and made comments. I think it's easy to see why there's such a high level of enthusiasm and eagerness to move forward with Phase 2. I appreciate all the different aspects that everybody covered, and I think that if there's one thing that we've learned from this process, there were some things that we'd want to do a little bit differently in Phase 2, but the most significant request that we have of the city manager and the council right now is that you've got a group that's ready to go forward. They need to know that they've got support from the city so that as we go out and do fundraising, that we can say the city is supportive. Not that the city wouldn't be supportive, but define how is the city going to be supportive financially, and what's the timeline for CIP, and is there a way that we can budget it in? Because I know one of the questions that we had was on remaining funds, and I think Kay described that very well with how that compares with other foundations and where we're at and what they're looking at based upon Greg Jones from the early estimates of Phase 2. So my motion for the council would be to receive and file all the information, refer it to the city manager's office to get a green light so that they can start actively fundraising on Phase 2, but that also would then entail knowing from the city exactly what the plan was and how we could get in line to make sure that it coincides with the private fundraising.
Well, and probably with other CIP projects around the city. So, Mr. Manager, do you want to make a comment?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, council members. Streetscape projects have been, at least in our town, very successful as ways to encourage and promote investment along their corridors. East Locust, East Village is a great example of an area where you spend a lot of money to improve the streetscape, and it's, I think, paid really nice dividends. Ingersoll, the same thing seems to be happening, where we've seen some really wonderful investments along that street. Here's the thing for council that you need to keep in mind. There are other neighborhoods around the city that have streetscape projects that have been talked about and that are on the drawing board. Beaverdale has a project at Beaver and Urbandale. The Drake area along University by Drake University, Highland Park, Southeast 14th. So a number of these projects are coming along. They are in various different stages. I think clearly Ingersoll, among all of those, has perhaps the most momentum, as represented by the great showing this evening. My suggestion for the council is that you give us a chance to lay those projects out for you, and that we look at it in the context of our capital budgeting, which will be coming up in the next 60 days, and you'll be able to make decisions about how to prioritize those projects. I do understand that you've got to kind of go where the flow is, and if there's enough interest and resource on Ingersoll, that clearly has a bearing. But we simply can't ignore the interest and investments in some of the other neighborhoods that are looking at these sorts of projects as well. So I think we have to ultimately figure out ways to balance all of those and have them hopefully all go forward in some schedule. But what I'd like to do is look at all of those, give you numbers and a sense of our ability to finance our share in those projects, and then you can kind of see how the priorities lay out and make reasonable judgments about which one to fund and when.
Can I just add, timeline-wise, I think the other important aspect is from where I'm sitting, and I understand the significance of all the neighborhood associations. I mean, you know, some of the other neighborhood associations that have landscape projects are also within Ward 3. You know, so I'm trying to figure out how to balance this. But I think that we need to send, from a city perspective, the message that when we have private citizens and companies that are willing to step up to the plate and make contributions, that we need to be able to take advantage of that and not lose that. And I say that not only for Ingersoll, but whether it's a Beaverdale or a Highland Park, and that we as a city need to figure out, okay, how can we allow and nurture all of this to continue to move forward so that it's a win-win for everybody. So if we could have it, as you're looking at that, then a timeline as to
What I would plan to do, Mrs. Hensley, is we'll have a workshop at some point on the capital budget for next year, and it would seem to me a real appropriate.
This would be a natural.
This would be a natural fit into that, and that would be within the next month or two.
So that'd be January probably, because we'll have the final documents for part of February.
January or early February, but probably January. You're correct.
Mayor and Rick, I'd just like to add that I am 100% supportive of the presentation about Ingersoll. I think everybody knows I've been very active in the Beaverdale and tried to be active in Highland Park and University. We have some great projects on the drawing board. I think they're all important and all good, and I truly believe if we looked at the numbers and maybe between now and that capital improvements budget meeting, Rick, if we might be able to somehow document or detail the positive impact in the neighborhoods, I just think this is the best economic development that we do as a city, not just because it spurs commercial development, often destination development like on Ingersoll in the East Village in Highland Park and Beaverdale, but it also supports the neighborhood. And some of the really profound economic development that we've done throughout the city has, been good for the tax base of the city at that particular, address. But things like Ingersoll strengthen that whole area north and south of Grand. I just think it's a tremendous way for us to use economic development dollars to build our city and make it stronger. So whatever you can do when you come back with a proposal that puts these on the fast track, I think the better off our city will be.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion.
I don't think we need to repeat it.
I don't think so. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
All right.
7 yes.
Takes us to item 50. Item 50 is from the Sherman Hill Association, Inc. regarding demolition permits for 1918 and 1920 Crocker Street. Thank you all for coming down.
Thank you, guys.
I'm Jeff McEmore. I'm the current president of Sherman Hill Association. I live at 673 20th Street. I'm here this evening. I'd reached out to Chris Hensley. The board of directors of Sherman Hill had drafted a letter requesting demolition permits for 1918 and 1920 would not be granted. We understand at this point that permits are not being sought, and in the letter, I believe you guys have a copy of part of your packet.
We do.
And so I'm going to kind of skim over the details, but we've been in conversations with Smoky Row, as in the neighborhood association, but also Smoky Row has been in conversations with neighboring property owners. So for the board representing the neighborhood as a whole, wanting to make sure that those two individual homes as resources to the neighborhood in a broader sense, the historic aspect. I know we're looking at possibly moving, being there, but just to make sure at this point that they would not be torn down as we're having those conversations, to looking at the parking issue and being supportive of our neighbor, Smoky Row, and the other neighbors as well. So those are my quick comments as to the communications that we'd set to the council and the mayor.
Ms. Hensley.
Let me add a little more information to that, and we have been in conversation for the council's benefit. There are lots of discussions going on right now with Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association and Smoky Row, just trying to work through what is appropriate. Smoky Row, the good news is they're extremely successful. So successful that they've created some parking issues in the neighborhood, and we're trying to work through those. One of the possibilities would be this land where these two houses are, and that's why we have the request to put a hold on issuing a demolition permit on just those two properties. So that would be the motion. But just so the Sherman Hill Board Association is aware, I've talked with legal, and I see Chris Pose, he can maybe say confirm this, that are working with Smoky Row. The Bennetts do not own those two properties. They're owned by another party, but there is discussion going on regarding whether or not they will be able to purchase those properties. If they are successful in purchasing those properties, and the decision was made that they'll, based upon the plan that's ultimately agreed to, they would make those properties available to Sherman Hill to move and would provide the equivalent of the demolition cost to the Sherman Hill Neighborhood Association or a person. You guys do a great job at moving properties. So if it comes to that, just so you know that that is available from the Bennett's if they're successful. Is that correct, Chris? And he's shaking his head yes.
Okay.
So my motion will be to place a hold on issuing a permit on the two properties, 1918 and 1920 Crocker, as we're just continuing the discussions with all of the appropriate parties.
30 days or?
Till next council meeting, 3 weeks?
No, I think that we need to, they're going through they're going to submit something to P&Z, and it's going to be on the P&Z agenda in February. I'd say through the end of February. Is that a reasonable time? So that'd be...
You say Smoky Row is going to be submitting
Correct.
something to P&Z, so this will give them time to
Yes,
do that?
they're doing that the first week of January. I think it's January 10th or right around there.
Is that
Is
where
that
Chris-
correct, Chris? Okay. So through the end of February.
Yeah, the second February meeting is the 28th, Diane?
Oh, I don't have it.
Oops, I do somewhere here. I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Well, I only go through January here, so whatever the second meeting in
Second meeting in
February.
I think it's 28th.
So if for some reason it's not finalized, we'll just come back and be able to extend it or make a request to extend it.
Are we voting?
We're voting.
We're voting.
Yes.
7 yes.
All right, that takes us to item 53, which is regarding an intent to create the Des Moines Airport Authority, Council Communication number 10-741. And the item here is to set the date of hearing, which will be January 10th of 11. Any discussion on this item, at least for this evening? Anybody want to speak on this?
Well, Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm James Erickson, Airport Chair, 3818 Thornton Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa. According to Forbes magazine, Des Moines ranks #1 as the best place for business and careers. However, airline service is always a question mark on those surveys. The Des Moines International paper is the gateway to the city of Des Moines for everyone traveling by air. We have approximately 940,000 enplanements a year. We should have double that amount. The decision you will make here today regarding an airport authority will determine the future of air service here in Des Moines. We need better facilities and more frequent and economical air service if Des Moines is to continue to grow. If we could capture all the travelers that journey to other cities and service the conventions and meetings we miss out on because of the lack of capacity our carriers have, we could show tremendous growth at the airport and for the city. We would also see a lot more economic development in and around the airport. An authority is in a lot better position to make these things happen than our present governance. The decision rests with you, the City Council of Des Moines, and I urge passage of establishing an airport authority. And I'd like to introduce at this time our Vice Chair, Ed Hansel, who's going to bring some more comments.
Thanks, Jim. Mayor, County, and members of the council. My name is Ed Hansel. I'm the Vice Chair of the Airport Board. I've been on the board for 17 years. I live at 139 37th Street here in Des Moines. I've been on the board since 1993, which was the last time that it was reorganized. And I have with me a couple of gentlemen I want to introduce. One is Dave Ferree, who's the member of the legal staff of the City of Des Moines. He's the lawyer assigned to us at the airport. And also Don Smithy, who is currently our aviation director. We're very fortunate to have Don. Don has had a career in being an aviation director of airports, and for the last 24 years, he was the airport director, aviation director in Omaha, and retired year and a half or so ago, and we convinced him that he ought to come out of retirement and help us at the Des Moines Airport, which he is doing. We're here tonight to recommend to you that you establish an airport authority under Iowa Code Chapter 330A, and that the purpose of that is to operate the airport under that statute. Why is this a good idea? That's the critical thought. We believe we need to position the airport to move forward, and that an authority will assist us to do that. We've got a lot of work to do at the airport. We know that. We've done a lot of work through the years, but passenger traffic at the airport has been relatively steady but flat for a number of years. Since 9/11, our air cargo has actually decreased. Our physical facilities are 50 years old, and while we are constantly remodeling and mending them, they need a massive upgrade, and we're going to have to do something. Expansion of our terminal facilities in the present situation are limited by the FAA as to what we can do. And we really need, we have a master plan, but it's time to upgrade that master plan and to look out for the next 5 and 10 and 20 years. We think with this authority will help us get this done on all the things we have to do. Of course, our goal is what you want us to have, and that is to give the best possible service to the traveling public and also to our air cargo service. As mentioned in your communication, I know you've all had a chance to look at that. Over the last 40 years, the trend has been in airports to move to the authority system. And that's what we urge that you do. Approximately a half of the airports in the United States currently operate under that system. You've got a number of them in your handout that tells you the ones that have converted over the past several years. Very important airports like Memphis and Dallas and Fort Worth and Orlando and Reno and Albany and San Diego and Detroit and Pittsburgh and Columbus. As you'll notice there also in your handout, is important that in August of 2009, the Legal Research Digest there said that airports changing to the authority governance have experienced many efficiencies by having a business principled operation, including lower costs to the airlines and streamlined corporate and private leasing to all tenants. One of our problems at the Des Moines Airport is that we're in a bifurcated situation. The authority and the responsibility are separated. Ideally, authority and responsibility would be in the same place. And what I'm saying there is that the airport staff currently reports to the aviation director and to the airport board for some matters, and to the city manager for other matters, including administrative and support services. The authority structure, we believe, will streamline processes and result in a more efficient airport operation. We're in a very competitive situation. That's no news to you folks. We compete with the airport at Kansas City. We now compete also with the airport in Minneapolis, to a lesser extent in Cedar Rapids. But our big competitor is Omaha. All of those airports, except for Cedar Rapids, have Southwest. And Southwest makes them a very tough competitor. We need to be competitive here in Des Moines at our airport in order to attract airlines. Fortunately, Don Smithy, in his 24 years at Omaha, was instrumental in attracting Southwest to Omaha, and he has been very helpful to us. Some of you will know and remember that a small group of us went to Texas about 10 years ago, met with Southwest, tried to convince them they should come to Des Moines. They were very congenial, but they're not here. As you know, Southwest recently is in the process of acquiring AirTrans. AirTrans has a small presence in Des Moines right now. We have some flights that are AirTrans flights. But of course, what they have done is they will acquire all of AirTrans, which has services in various airports around the country. You can imagine that everybody is trying to get Southwest Airlines. And you can imagine that all of those airlines, all those airports like us, who already have AirTrans, are trying to get them. One of the good things that we have is, of course, a connection. We have Don Smithy. I will tell you that we recently were pleased to have the Southwest folks come and meet us here in Des Moines. They have indicated an interest. We entertained them, and they seem to be pleased with Des Moines. We, of course, will plan to pursue that opportunity. We think we have a bit of an advantage, and we think that if that could happen, that would be the most important thing that would have happened to the airport, certainly while I've been on the board. Can I guarantee you that if you switch to and adopt the airport authority system, that Southwest will come? Of course, they can't do that. It's going to take about 2 years for them to close their transaction, we believe, with AirTrans. You can be assured that we will be working to try to convince Southwest to come. But of equal importance is this. We believe that the authority will give us the type of structure that will help us run the airport, whether or not Southwest comes. But certainly it will enhance our ability to bring in Southwest. Now, the structure of what is proposed is well described in the handouts that you have in your materials. Some of the critical details are as follows, that I would like to run through them quickly. The mayor will nominate the 5-member board, all of whom will be a resident of the city of Des Moines. Appointees will serve 4-year terms. The first 5 will draw lots so that 2 of them will serve 2-year terms. The mayor's nominations will be subject to the confirmation of the council, so that you, as the entire council, will have to approve the nominations of the mayor. We suggest in the proposal that if the mayor, for some reason, doesn't get an appointment made within a period of time, as provided in the statute, in the ordinance, that then the city council will appoint if there is any vacancy. The board members are to have a degree of expertise. They should have experience in aviation or business, accounting, finance, marketing, engineering, law, real estate development, management, or other fields of value to the operation of the airport. The airport is a big economic engine here for the city of Des Moines. Our annual operating budget is $26 million. Our capital budget is $30 million. So we think it's an important piece of the pie. The city will transfer all of their current airport equipment and buildings and personal property to the Air Authority, and all contracts will be assigned to and assumed by the authority. The city will retain ownership of all of the land, and that will be leased to the authority on a long-term lease. As you know, the city does not provide any revenues to us. We don't have any taxing authority, and we do not receive any revenues from the city. Rather, we pay the city our pilot charges, and we buy services from the city. It is anticipated that this transaction will be revenue neutral to the city. We will continue to buy services from the city. We will continue to lease the ground from the city. That we will continue to comply with all the FAA rules and regulations in that regard. All aspects of this proposed transaction are subject to the FAA approval, because they approve everything that we do, and we will continue to be subject to their rules and regulations. The authority will have power to borrow money and to issue bonds, but it will have no taxing authority. We recommend that we meet jointly with you folks, and that we report to you annually as to all of our activities. That would include budgets and all of our plans for the year. The authority will offer employment to all of the current city employees who work at the airport, and the employees will be provided the opportunity until the conversion date to elect to stay as employees of the city, or they can become employees of the authority. The authority will assume existing labor contracts, and those will remain in place. If they elect to become an employee of the authority, then their pensions will continue as in the past, and they will receive credit for their time as city employees for pension purposes. Authority employees will not be civil service employees. City employees who remain as city employees will continue as civil service employees. PAMTech employees, and I assume you're familiar with that, those are the ones that work for parks and also that help us in the winter in the snow removal, will continue to be city employees. The authority will be accountable because, number one, the mayor will appoint all of the members of the board, subject to your confirmation. Number two, the members of the authority board will serve at your pleasure. You can remove any member of the board at any time if you choose to do so. And finally, the ultimate, if you don't like the authority, you have the ability to dissolve it. The statute so provides. So you can dissolve the entire thing if it isn't working. So we appreciate you taking the time to consider this proposal. And we would urge that you adopt the resolution that you have been presented in your materials. And we're happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you all for making the presentation. I think this is, at least we're this evening setting the date of hearing. This is not the hearing. And so therefore, the first reading will not occur then until the 10th of January of 11. I'm sure that a number of the council members have some questions regarding a lot of this, and hopefully all those that haven't been resolved between the initial discussion on this and the 10th will hopefully get all those ironed out. Does any of the council have any questions of either Mr. Hansel or anyone other of the members that are out here this evening?
Are we going to have other speakers come up? I guess I'd like to have other speakers come up before we have discussion. I don't really have any more questions yet.
All right, and keep in mind, this is setting the date of hearing. This is not the hearing. And so hopefully we're not going to hear everything tonight that we're going to hear again the night of the hearing.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it brief. My name is Tom Hayes. I am the Secretary Treasurer and Business Manager of CPEC. I represent the employees of the City of Des Moines. With this action, as it becomes an authority that will take away the civil service oversight for the employees out there, I also have concerns of obviously the oversight of the council for how things operate out there. We've had previous experiences with CTEC and then the film scandal. I'd hate for something to come up where you guys need to yank it, but it might be too late. So I'd just like you to think about that. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm Jim Fromm, President of the Municipal Employees Association. I'd just like to give you all an update that we have had a couple meetings with Mr. Smithy and his staff. We would like to be on board with the idea, the concept of getting our airport in a better position with other airports. My wife and I would admit to driving to other towns for plane rides to other cities, and we really think this would be a huge boost for Des Moines to get airfares like that here. We support the idea. We realize that without civil service, our current MEA members that are out there would lose something. We are also in works with working and preparing contract language that we would add to the existing contract we have and actually establish a separate contract with the airport that would afford the same coverage for them as civil service. And we're we're working with Mr. Smithy to agree to those things. That will be an ongoing process. What else? I think that's pretty much it. We just want you to know that we look forward to improving our airport and want to make this a great place to live and work. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a question of Jim. I know that you can't speak for SPM, but in your opinion, if the employees at the airport were not civil service, what kind of protection could you see for the SPM employees?
They're in a different position since they really don't have one. I don't believe they have a contract like we do. There could be, probably should be some consideration toward them getting some coverage for that, so that they don't completely lose out on the little procedural benefits that they do have now as civil service employees. So consideration as we move down this road, I think consideration toward that would be appreciated by them, and I think reasonable.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Hensley, comment?
A couple of comments here. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it very much. I think it was Ed, you talked about the, if this was not successful or if we wanted to abolish it as the city council. One of the things that I'd like to see the council and have some recommendations from the airport board as we look at this moving forward would be, what would be the criteria and how would we evaluate the work of the authority versus the current structure? And, you know, looking 2 years down from now, 2.5 years, 3 years, but what would be the criteria so that if we were looking at evaluating, okay, this was a good decision, it wasn't a good decision, this is where we need to maybe look at some things a little bit differently. So I'd like to have some criteria established or discussed by all the parties involved as to how would we make that decision, because I think it becomes very subjective and very difficult to make that decision if you don't have some concrete criteria. I.e., you mentioned that it'd take a couple of years for Southwest to make that transition complete. You know, we'd all love to get Southwest, do everything we could to get Southwest, but we want to give adequate time, and there are other airlines that we would want to look at as well. The other item, and this is no surprise, is I continue to have heartburn over the board structure that is being proposed here. I would prefer to see 7. I could live with 5, but the bigger issue is losing a voice as a council to actually make an appointment to the board. And I'll be real honest with you. It's easy to say that we all have ultimate authority and we can approve or not approve anybody that's recommended by the mayor to come before the council. I can't tell you once in the history of the city council that that's ever happened. It's because it's very, very difficult once they get to the council table to challenge an appointment. It just doesn't happen. So I don't think that that is an adequate response to that. I would like to see discussion and consideration of council members, all council members having the ability to make a recommendation to a pool that the mayor then could look at and make an appointment from. That at least would still give us some voice in the process. And if we could get something along those lines, I think that also as we're looking at the new board, as it comes out, is, and I'll be real honest about this, is whether or not, you know, we should allow all of the existing board members to continue to be in that pool, or should we be looking at some new ones so that we have a blend of some history so we don't lose that, as well as some new ones coming in. So as we have those discussions before it comes back on the 10th, I'd just like to have some thought given to that.
Any other thoughts? Anybody? Jim?
I want to thank Jim and Ed for meeting with me and discussing this at great length, and I'd like to to thank Rick for discussing at great length, and Bruce and some of the council members that I've spoke with. I think on the surface this sounds like a good proposal, looks like a good proposal, but I've made it clear in the past that regardless of what happens, it sounds like our employees out there are going to lose out on this deal. They're going to lose some protection. Tonight, I'm going to vote to support this to go to the hearing, but if I don't hear that there's some resolutions with the employees, and it sounds like you're working with MEA, but we've got a lot more employees, I can't support it any further than that. And especially, you know, they need the civil service protection. I don't see any reason why some of these employees can remain city employees, but not all of them. And nobody has given me a good reason for that yet. So I will support it tonight, but in January, if I haven't heard anything different, I'm going to have to vote no on it.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I think, from my perspective, I think this is one of the best opportunities we've had to better the city since my extensive time on the council started. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for the city. I think it has the potential to do, tremendous things for Des Moines. We start throwing out names like Southwest, and that has the ability to do unbelievable things for our city. And I don't see any downsides. We're staying revenue neutral as far as I can tell, and that's one of Rick's assured all of us that the revenue wouldn't change. I think we still have accountability that we're looking for, the transparency we're looking for. Christine, I agree with you completely with the idea of creating benchmarks kind of moving forward. And certainly our vision will be reflected on the authority. I think this allows a lot of flexibility for the airport to move in different directions based on circumstances, based on whether a recession comes up, whether we need a new terminal, whether we need another runway. I mean, it allows them more flexibility. And I'm supportive of this. I think there's some details that need to be ironed out, some questions I still have, but overall I'm very supportive of this.
Anybody else?
I would agree with Hallie. I think the other thing is the potential of our airport growing and more employees coming on staff. That would give more union members more union dues coming into the unions, and since they're going to maintain the unions, I think there's an opportunity there for us to help grow our city, the businesses, and that are all going to benefit if we can get a better rate on our flights coming in and going out. So I certainly hope that we can get enough, and they deserved a hearing, so I'm certainly going to support it, setting the hearing for the 10th.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Coleman.
Just if I could quickly comment so people know where I'm at, thanks to the people that have worked on this proposal, I am extremely supportive, and I will support the hearing happening next month. I would like to say that I am supportive of mayoral appointments on this. I've done a lot of thinking, and I've talked to the advocates of this proposal and talked to people in other communities and feel like that's the right thing. That said, I have spent time the last 3 weeks or so talking to Rick about how we might empower council people to add to the pool of nominees. Certainly the mayor nominates them to the council. We approve them, but it would be nice that we had a chance to recommend names. And my conversation with the mayor is he's all for that. He wants the best possible candidates. I don't want to speak for you, Mayor, but if there could be some, language as Christine proposed or something else, I think that's the kind of process by which we would get the best possible candidates to serve on the airport board. Fact is, we got a lot of important things ahead of us, and I for one think we got to have our eyes on the most important thing to the citizens, and I don't put taking the city manager's time on airport things as the very top thing. So if we can create an authority where they assume some of the day-to-day operational responsibility ultimately, I'm all for that, and I think it's a great opportunity for the city of the citizens. So I'm for it. Any language that we can add to it, probably, the language I'm talking about probably doesn't need to be part of the ordinance, but some kind of policy or procedures that go along with the ordinance would be great.
My only comment, Mr. Coleman, would be into everyone. I don't think that my thoughts have been improperly misrepresented or anything else. So I think we're all moving down the same path. So we have a motion to who's going to do it to set the date of hearing. It's been moved to set the date of hearing for January 10th of 11 regarding the intent to create an airport authority.
Yes.
Okay.
6 yes, 1 no.
All right. Item 54 is approving the collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME Council 61 and its affiliated Local 3673, Council Communication number 10-762. Mr. Manager, did you, although we've had a couple of statements from some folks this evening, would you want to summarize what we're doing here?
Mr. Mayor and council members, this agreement is for the employees of the housing agency. It is, I think, Tom, I'll look to you. It's essentially patterned very closely after the agreement you've approved with fire in terms of the 2% and the 1.75% increases, and we recommend it to you.
Move.
Anyone in the audience to speak? Seeing none, it's been moved. Mr. Coleman, you vote yea?
Yes.
7 yes.
All right, Hallie, I'll ask you for a motion here in a second.
Before he does that, Mayor, we had a communication problem at the beginning, and I think the one vote I missed was for the consent agenda. I'd just like to make sure that my A was recorded as part of the proceedings.
Okay. As we conclude this year, and I look out in the audience and I see not only a number of citizens, but also our staff here, I want to thank everybody, not only for myself, but I think for the City Council and all the great work that you've done this year, not only in working through the budget in the early part of the year. We worked together hand in hand and arm through 3 flood situations this year. We've worked with a lot of businesses. We've worked with a lot of development and opportunities that are not seen in many places around this country. And I think one of the reasons why we are successful here in the city of Des Moines and continue to receive good reviews from around the nation and around the world is because of the work that we all do, not only individually but collectively together as a city organization, as neighborhoods and businesses, because we can't any of us do it by ourselves. And I want to just thank everybody for all the work that you've done this year. The council that sits up here, I want to thank all you guys. We don't always agree on every single item, but this has been a good year in spite of the fact of recessions and problems at every other level and around the world. Des Moines continues to forge ahead, and let's hope that 2011 will be as strong or stronger of a year, and Des Moines will rise even higher on the statements that are made by others around this country and around the world. So thank you all. And Hallie, if you would...
Could I just tag on to that, if you would? First, I want to thank you for those great comments on behalf of the city staff, and I share all of those sentiments. But in addition to that, this evening is a special evening for 2 particular reasons. We have 2 of our truly outstanding employees who tonight are attending their last city council meeting as city employees for the city of Des Moines. I'll first mention Matt Anderson, who's the Economic Development Administrator. I've advised, I think, all of you that he's recently taken a great job with a great company, Knapp Properties. Matt has done just outstanding work for us. We're going to miss him, and we all wish him the very best in his new endeavors. And Matt, we hope you come back and visit us every now and then. But thank you for great work for the city of Des Moines.
Can I just add that all those MAP projects are going to be in Des Moines now, right?
The other one I want to also pay special attention to is Merrill Stanley. Merrill has served as my deputy city manager for several years now. Before that, he was finance director. It can't be spoken too loudly how much assistance he's been to me and to the city. He's been just great for our organization. I wish him the very best in his whatever he's going to do, retirements or he doesn't seem like a retirement kind of guy to me. But in any event, both of these folks have been just great for the city, and we're going to miss your fine work, and we wish you the very best. How about a round of applause for these two folks?
Could I make a motion to adjourn and reconvene as the Board of Health?
You certainly may. It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. We now sit adjourned to City Council and reconvene as the Board of Health. Item 1 is approving the legal department to proceed with court action seeking authority to abate the public nuisance at all the following locations. The first one is A, 4171 East Broadway Avenue, mobile home unit number 4. B is 3814 Cornell Street. It's a garage structure. C is 2119 East Grand Avenue, a main structure and a garage structure. D is 1806 Mondamon Avenue. It's a main structure. E is 1020 Rittenhouse Street. It's a main structure and a garage. And F is 1233 East 12th. It's a main structure and a garage structure. Is there anyone in the audience to speak on any of these items? If not, could we have a motion to approve the legal department to proceed?
Move.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Item passes. Item number 2 is the release of the fire escrow account held for the structure located at 2321 Sailor Road. The date of that loss was 7/11/2008. Anyone to speak on this item in the audience? Seeing none, could we have a motion on that item?
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. And if we could have a motion to adjourn, we will be done till 2011. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Happy holidays, everybody.